What is up, guys? This is Jared Spalding here, and today I'm going to be talking about, of course, you already know this, but I'm going to be talking about silver stacking on a budget. And, a lot of people are in the same situation as I am, just stacking as much as they can, but at the same time, they don't have the largest source of income. I mean, I especially understand that. And there's plenty of people, who have bills to pay or whatever it is, basically they can't get the amount of silver that they want to, or at least put the amount of currency into silver that they'd like. However, it certainly is not impossible, and let me just explain to you, I guess this is a tutorial, just explaining how to stack silver when, you have limited funds, or whatever you want to call it. So, there's a few different ways, I guess you could say, to get silver at a good deal, or just get a decent amount of silver while not spending too much. For one, generic bullion is always a good way to, especially if you like this bar I got from JM Bullion right here. I got it for 65 cents an ounce, or like 65 cents over spot per ounce. Yeah, 65 cents an ounce. Wouldn't that be wonderful? But it was definitely a better price than I saw from everyone else. So I paid 80 for this one. Everyone else was selling them for like 90. So, JM Bullion, is one place to go to if you're just looking for a good deal on generic bullion. But all this right here, can be picked up pretty cheap, not too much over melt. Certainly it does carry a little bit of a premium on it, but it's certainly not enough to, limit the amount of silver you can stack. Unless you're stacking like 1,000 ounces of generic bullion, then maybe, maybe you'll notice a little bit of a difference between, the premium and how much silver you're actually getting. But overall, it's really not too bad. And also, it can be stored really compactly, just, you can see, there's 20 ounces right here, and it really doesn't take up much space. It can easily be held in my hand, I could easily fit more. So, if you're stacking around 5 ounce bars or 10 ounce range, then that can easily be stored. It doesn't take up too much space, so it's a very compact way to store silver, since it's all pure, of course. All your silver's in one spot, as opposed to being, well, not in one spot, but as opposed to being, other metals also in there. It's just silver. So, definitely something I would recommend if you're stacking on a budget. But let's say, you're not interested in generic bullion, you looked at it before, and, you're thinking, what can I do to get silver for around melt value? And honestly, I'm going to tell you it's going to be tough, but there is one way to do it, and let me just share that. And that, of course, being junk constitutional silver. And in my time of stacking, besides bullion, this is where I've got the most silver in, or where I put like the most because about half of my stack is this. It's 23.87 ounces out of my 52.87 ounce stack. Of course, the other 28 ounces and 7 grams is from bullion, and 7 grams being that generic bullion, which I'm going to talk about just in a minute here. But my point being, I did manage to pick up a lot of this 4-round melt, and you can tell some of these coins are pretty nice. Let me just pick over this coin right here. It's a really nice coin, but I got a lot for about melt. And one of the coins in here, this one, no, if I can find the right quarter. I've talked about this before, so it's nothing special, but, I did find a quarter before looking through change, so I paid about 25 cents for that. And coin roll hunting is something that's very time consuming, but you can pay face for silver, and definitely is something that you might want to consider. If you got a lot of time, of course, because like I was saying, it's very time consuming. It does take a while to do. But if you do have a lot of time, and I guess you can't be on too small of a budget because you have to be able to buy the coins, but if you save some up and, you buy the coins, you can bring them back and then, get more coins. So it's not like you're forced to keep the coins or something, obviously. And I know you guys are probably thinking, if you don't have any experience of this, well, Coinstar takes away 10%, right? So don't have to find more than 10% of the value of those coins in silver. Well, you can always go to your bank, and chances are, either A, they'll have a coin machine right there if you have an account set up with them. That is, they'll either have like a Coinstar machine that doesn't charge any fee if you have an account with them, or if you have kind of go to a smaller bank, they might make you roll up the coins and bring them back. But if you have an account there, they should let you do it with no fee. And if your bank says otherwise, then I guess disregard what I'm saying, because you would be losing money at that point. But so I know certain banks probably still charge a fee. But anyone I've ever seen, they'll take back the coins at no cost to you. So I guess you'd have to see, as long as you have an account with them, I would think. But either way, you could definitely pick up silver for a pretty good deal. Still, if you're just buying them constitutional, if coin hunting's not for you, if you don't have the time. Buying constitutional, I've gotten a lot of this for melt or even under melt. Like, all the nickels in here I bought for under melt. I bought them in 3 different transactions. First I bought 60 of them, then I bought 120, and then I bought another 40 silver nickels. So that's how I got about 5.5, well, exactly 5.5 rolls now. And, so just, I can make decently large purchases with them because of the fact that people don't really realize how much the silver is worth in them, because it's only 35%, as opposed to other coins. Quarters you're not going to usually be able to pick up. Some of the mercury dimes in here, 25 of them actually, I picked up for under melt. That was because of the fact that I kind of took a risk on that, but I've talked about it before. But basically what I did was I bought this half roll of coins. It was crimped on both ends, and it said, apparently it said red mercury dime on the wrapper, but then the guy said he didn't know if that's actually mercury dimes or not. So I figured I'd take a chance with it. And sure enough, it was just 25 mercury dimes, and I picked it up for a little bit under melt because it was in an auction, so I got pretty lucky on that. And I believe one of the nickel purchases was in an auction. The other two was just buy it now, but I made a best offer, and that's how I got those pretty cheaply. And I didn't have to spend a bunch of money either, because a lot of people were probably thinking that you have to spend a huge amount of money, have a huge amount of currency. I mean, you have a lot of buying power in order to get a decent deal on silver. But really, if you just find the right people, you put the time into it, you can find a pretty good deal on constitutional silver. And the generic bullion, I mean, it is what it is. It's never going to be sold super cheap, but this stuff you can definitely find a good deal on. And, you may be thinking, well, what's another method of buying? And, of course, I got one more for you here, and that is silver jewelry. I really have not invested in this much at all. In fact, these 2 rings were actually given to me. I didn't even buy them myself. So, definitely not something I focus on, but I know a lot of people, sorry about that, but I know a lot of people will focus on, these jewelry because of the fact that the whole theory is that people will either they'll sell the jewelry knowing there's silver in there and they'll mark it up way too high, or B, they'll think it's costume jewelry and sell it way too low. There's kind of no middle ground with it. So if you get lucky, I guess you're having to find, silver really cheap because of the fact that you're buying rings people think are just costume jewelry. Then I don't really know too much about this, though, honestly, because I just don't invest in silver through this method. But I would imagine at a yard sale or a estate sale, something like that, where you'd be finding a good deal, not at a jewelry store, of course. So maybe it's something to think about. And, people oftentimes think, though, that this is the only way they can invest in silver. If they are, if they're on a budget, they can't really buy nicer pieces. Well, that's not necessarily true, and let me just explain here. So these are some of the nicer coins I managed to pick up while, of course, stacking on a pretty tight budget myself here. And a lot of these, aren't super expensive. But I got some older Cedar Liberty dimes. I got some really nice coins right here. This really nice 1912S half and 1832 half bust half dollar. Really nice coin. Here's a really good one, 1801 Spanish coin. Can't even really see it. It's light. So I'm sorry about that, but the details, let me try to get it. Details are pretty decent on some of these coins and some dollar coins and just a few of these slabbed coins here. But all of these coins I did manage to pick up for a pretty good deal, or maybe they're given to me depending on them. But like this coin right here, 1832 bust half dollar, which in this condition would usually be valued at around $120 to $140. The condition it's in, and I managed to pick it up for right around $42.45. And probably the best deal I've ever gotten was on this coin also. And here I got this coin's valued at around it says $60 on here, and whenever I see them sold, I usually see them sold for around that much. So I don't know too much about it, but assuming it's worth about $60, that's a pretty good deal. I got it because I paid about $8 for it. And so, you really just need to be patient, honestly. That's the whole key when it comes to stacking on a budget. You have to just look for the good deals. Don't buy any impulse purchases, and make sure you're never really buying too much above melt if you are buying constitutional. I mean, it takes a while, I have to be honest, to find each deal. That's one of the reasons why I don't make too many purchases, because I try to make larger ones, but I also try to get better deals on it, on all the silver I'm getting. So that's why it takes so long for me to do a silver purchase. But every time I make one, I usually do manage to get a pretty good deal because I look for them. I'll spend maybe a month or so looking for a deal in silver before I actually make a purchase. But every time I've managed to pay a pretty fair price for the coins, because a lot of people will think, oh well, I'll just go a few dollars higher on this auction. They keep on doing that until they are paying more than what the coin's worth. So that's why it's good to just set a price limit for yourself when it comes to doing an auction or buying from an auction on eBay. Just make sure that you know what you're willing to spend before you go in, because you can't let yourself get too carried away when it comes to something that's really nice. You might start overvaluing it even because you think the coin's better than it really is, and that is one way to end up hurting yourself, because you paid $20 more for than the coin was worth. It was only worth, let's say, $50, and you paid $70 for it. Then all of a sudden, just to consider the fact that you're already stacking on a budget in the first place, you can't really be affording to pay too much more than what a coin is worth. And you guys are probably going to be saying, well, it's not really feasible to be paying under melt for silver every time. You're right. I mean, every silver purchase I have made wasn't under melt, but I usually try to stay a little, maybe a little bit above melt to under melt, depending on the deals I find. And I know for some people it's not feasible to be able to make all your purchases get this good of a deal, but that's because you're probably making purchases really often, and then it probably won't be feasible for you. But if you want to get the best deal you can, you really have to put the time in for every purchase you make. Every one purchase you make, you should probably spending at least a few weeks to find it, unless there just happens to be a lot of good deals popping up. But chances are on eBay, there's not going to be too many good silver deals. You just have to really look for them. And before I go, of course, I need to talk about one mistake that you really don't want to fall into. This is the only type of silver that I'm completely against, and that's fractional silver. And the reason being is because, of course, the premiums on them is ridiculous how much you're paying over melt value for any of the silver. If you were to buy a 1 gram bar, it's going to cost you, at least twice melt. 1 grain, I mean, sometimes these 1 grain bars right here will sell for literally $1 a piece, and if you look at it, the fact that they're worth about 6 cents a piece, all of a sudden that doesn't seem like a very good purchase, but people will fall into this scam every day. These companies who make the silver bullion that's really this small are making more money than companies who make all that silver bullion over there. And this is because of the fact that there's such a high premium on it, and people think, oh well, I can't afford anything larger, so I'll just make these small purchases. Well, there's a difference between a small purchase and a $1 purchase, honestly. And especially, it really is annoying to see when people are spending a bunch of money on this fractional stuff when they could be, getting something like a 5-ounce bar. Like, if you were to put $80, let's say, into 1 grain bars, I mean, this is kind of an extreme example, but you could get, let's say, 100 grains of silver, right, for $80. Which, 100 grains, you may be wondering how much that is. Well, let me just tell you, that is exactly 6 grams and 10 grains. So 6 2/3 of a gram will be 100 grains. Compared to 5 ounces of silver, and when you consider the fact that there's around 38 grams in 1 ounce of silver, that's really, really bad of a deal. And I do see people selling these things for $1 a piece. I don't know whoever buys them. I guess I did at one point because I fell into the same mistake. But, chances are you can afford more than a grain of silver, so definitely something to avoid. There's other scams to avoid, too, like people who just sell silver for way over melted, people who don't know what it's worth, people who are selling fake silver out there. There's a lot of scams to avoid that I've talked about before. But for silver stacking on a budget, just stick to, your bullion right there, generic bullion, junk constitutional, and whenever you can find a good deal, even maybe your numismatically valuable silver, as well as foreign silver. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. That is it for this one. Peace, love, and much respect.